So yesterday I talked about concepts, the various types of concept that arises from our six senses. The mind, especially when you are sitting down, all the creation and all the imagination, planning, or even history, memories of the past. So those things, those objects, those memory arises, those thoughts arises. If we are not careful, very easily for us to fall into it, get drowned, and get dragged into it. With that, there's no mindfulness. Uh, Not only no mindfulness, but then, and also sometimes the defilements like anger, jealousy, aversion, conceit, everything comes together with those thoughts, those imagination. And also, we also look into the area of the other five senses. Here, while we are in a retreat, it's always important not for us to fall into again all the objects of seeing, objects of hearing, tasting, smelling, touching. As long as you in the retreat, when you notice something or when you happen to hear something, immediately you have to do like hearing, hearing, hearing. If you are not careful with noticing the hearing, then it's very easy for the mind to go into it and get dragged into thoughts and thinking and planning and so on. So one have to be careful. This time you have to remind yourself again and again. While we are in the retreat, whenever we see something, we're not seeing. Don't get enticed or don't get attracted to all things which is beautiful, nice, pleasant, or agreeable to you. Or disagreeable, unpleasant to you too. Those things you have to be careful. So as a yogi, as a vipassana meditator, one has to be careful in our senses. So this concept, these thoughts, this idea, also sometimes extend to all of you who love to write. Sometimes I've met with yogis of the past and current also. People love to write. Dear diary, today my meditation is so difficult. Then, then you tell everything to your diary. What's the point? Actually, if you want to write, what you should do over here is that you write about your meditation experiences, but don't overthink about it. If you want to write, it's only about 1 or 2 sentences enough. Don't write a novel, don't write a story about your experience. Don't hold on and seal it in the books. You should learn to experience your vipassana objects again and again. Sometimes you may feel something wonderful, you may feel something clear, and perhaps you write down a little bit, but then don't attach to what you have written there. Because if you are not going to practice, then this one will be your limit. If you were to keep on practicing in this vipassana, in sometimes the years or some weeks down the road, or the days down the road, and then you look back, That time was significant, but after that, a few days later, this feel like not so significant. But I spent so much time thinking about it, glorify over it. So, so don't have to write so much. So all this writing, it's also you have to use a lot of thinking, a lot of conceptualizing. Hmm? Uh, in the past, what we do, if you want to write down our experiences, what we do is that we don't write down so much, we draw. You don't have to write down my rising, falling, it was long and short and everything. Just write a few, draw a few, one long, one short. Then when you look at it, you exactly know what you're talking about. If you happen your rising, falling go around and it kind of like very random, just draw something random there. Is it so hard? Even that years later, when you look at it, you exactly know what you are drawing. So it saves you some time, yeah. Anyway, so this is some of the things that we have to be careful. That's why here we avoid all the reading of books or even Dharma books. Yeah. We avoid all the writing. We avoid all the messaging, text, all this communication stuff. We put it aside in order to settle the mind. Yeah. So this concept, where we hold on to these ideas, these thoughts very strongly. Now, towards the end of yesterday, as I said that the yogi must put aside all these ideas, this concept as much as possible. You put it aside. Then the yogi must know which are the right suitable objects for vipassana. The objects for vipassana falls under theoretically under the four foundation of mindfulness. But when you experience it this within this body, here in this body, you experience it, that means it can be directly known. Not by thinking, but directly known. Rising, falling can be directly known. Lifting, pushing, dropping can be directly known. Pain can be directly known. You don't have to think about them. There are sensations like hot, cold, pressure, movements. Those can be directly known. Thinking process, the concept, the mind that the mind that is creating those concepts, the mind is the one that is real, but the concept, the idea that comes out from it, these are all not suitable objects. So that means, otherwise, you must, if you happen to notice the thinking, then you notice the consciousness of that thinking that is producing those thoughts. It takes a lot of mindfulness, a lot of continuity of that mindfulness in order for us to notice, especially the mental states. If that mental state arises with that anger, then the anger is something real, something that it can be known, directly known. But the person face that you angry about, now that one is not real. That one is created by the mind. But the anger is real. So you must learn how to choose which object which is suitable for the vipassana. The anger is the one that is the culprit. Yeah. So with that too, I also mentioned that when you know how those are the objects of vipassana, then when we comes into training in the practice, day in, day out, then basically we divide those objects into two parts, the primary objects and the secondary objects. The primary objects in the walking is in the feet area, lifting, pushing, dropping, or the movement. The primary object. The secondary objects of the walking is everything above the ankle, and all the way up to the head, how your legs are moving, or your knees are moving, or your thighs are moving, or your shoulders, whatever that is going on in the upper part of the body. On the sitting part, the primary here is the rising and falling. Then your job is to stay with the rising and falling as best as you can. But at times, secondary objects become dominant, becomes clear. Your attention has to bring over to the secondary object. Here, the secondary objects may be your touching, your itchiness, your pain, your sitting and touching, thinking, planning. What else? Everything. Mm. So, now, although theoretically here during in the practice we say that as primary and secondary, whenever these objects becomes clear, becomes dominant, they are the most important object at that moment of time. Don't think of it as primary, you put in more effort, secondary, you put in less effort. That's not the way of Vipassana works. Because in places, there are other places, they kind of like they don't care about all the secondary object. They only hold on to a primary object, and that can be a lot of stress, a lot of tension, and then your experience of Vipassana is going to be very narrow because you know that object only. Other objects, you're not used to it. You're not careful because you think that those are not important. Yeah? Even we talk about primary, secondary objects. Now, some of you, when you come into the interview, you report all kinds of things. I'm waiting for you to report your primary object. You're talking about some of you, not all. Some of you have been talking about something you have to take me a merry-go-round now until I have to ask you where's your rising and falling. Oh, you want to know the rising and falling? Of course, I want to know your rising and falling. You come in to the interview room. You first thing you report about your walking meditation. You report your primary aspect of your walking meditation. How you do the first phase or second phase or third phase. Then you note. Then you tell me the secondary part if there is. Then when it comes to sitting, of course, some of you are very anxious to tell me about your pain, because you sit there for half an hour, the pain is so unbearable. Very difficult. I cannot take it. Yes, I understand, But you have to tell me, like, first half an hour, what do you do? Yeah. Oh, first half an hour, there's not much pain yet. Yes, I noticed the rising and falling. So tell me the rising and falling first. Then only you proceed on. Kind of like generally a chronological event of the sitting time. You sit there for 1 hour, 50 minutes, or 1 hour, or 45 minutes, somewhere there. You tell me chronologically how. In the beginning, what do you do? And then somewhere in the middle, or the pain maybe comes in about half an hour later, feels very unbearable, and so on. Kind of like a sequence. Don't take me here a little bit, there a little bit, here a little bit, there. Then talking about all kinds of things, and then you take up so much time. Then you tell me about your daily activities. What have you been doing with the daily activities? Now, when it comes to daily activities, there's no, in the sense of a primary object, unless you are sitting down. For example, like when you are eating, then the primary object around the eating part of it. Then you're chewing, biting, swallowing, tasting, how the movement is like, everything. Those become your primary object during eating process. Other than that, there's no primary or secondary object. You have to the 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 daily activities is that you have to kind of like hit and run that idea. That means you have to like you do a process of opening a door. So that time you put more attention into like pushing or opening of the handle, and you completely feel it. Then once you open the door, after that you want to relax a little bit, not so precise, not so sharp, even more general. Then yes, just for an extra few seconds, you exercise that precision. Then after that, you do something else. Perhaps you come to your sink. Then you turn on the tap. You feel the water, or you feel the water a bit cold, not too hot, not too cold. Then you feel it. At that time, you put the whole precision, the whole thoroughness of the mind feels it. Just for extra like 10, 15 seconds, you feel those things. Then after that, you want to do it slightly faster, not so precise, but the mind still there. Then kind of like each and every small little activities that you are doing, you put in that precision of it, noticing it. And with that, it builds up. The mindfulness really builds up throughout the day. So even with the daily activities that you have done, for example, from like 11 o'clock morning, we go for lunch, and then after lunch, you do your washing carefully, mindfully. I mean, then time you already have built up that mindfulness. You hold on to those mindfulness. When you reach to the 1 o'clock, you are ready for it. You are ready for the sitting. Yeah. So this is something that you have to exercise. Now, let's look into some of the secondary let's look into the process of how we do this walking and sitting. You see, although we have these primary secondary objects, but when it comes into the walking, there's a certain principle, a general principle that all yogis has to observe. It's a rule of thumb, not not a precise rule. It's more like you have when you do this walking meditation or sitting meditation, the body has to be relaxed. Yeah. The body has to be relaxed in a way that especially when you come into the lifting, pushing, dropping, the third phase, if your body is so tense up and you try to do this very slow movement, the tension is going to enhance, and it's going to be very difficult for you to do the walking meditation. So generally, the walking meditation is that you gradually slow down. That means from one phase is faster, then you gradually slow down. Generally, don't underestimate this one phase walking meditation. Although it may not be as precise as the third phase or the slowest phase, but right step, left step, if you learn how to be at ease with it, as long as you don't let the mind run, and you just learn to feel the right step, left step, and occasionally you feel the secondary part of it while you're walking, and you learn to feel the shoulders or the hips that are moving, you find that the mind and the body begins to relax. And that relaxation is important. This relaxation, if you learn how to feel it, then when your mind is you feel that you are more ready, automatically the movement of the leg will start to slow down on its own. Not like sometimes you have to feel, okay, 20 minutes already, let's do two-phase walking meditation. I mean, beginning, perhaps yes. But now, once you get the feel of the walking, it's like you will learn how to feel when the mind is ready to go slower. Naturally, that you gradually goes into it slowly. And then you learn to feel. As you learn to feel the walking getting slower, at that time you begin to notice the lifting, pushing, dropping. And then you relax. Don't tense up the body. Don't over try to. You know? Yeah, some people, once in a while, I've met with yogis are over zealous. They are like fighting a war inside there. So, learn how to relax with the object. So, as you relax, you notice that when your body is ready and the mind is ready, automatically it goes into the lifting, pushing, dropping. Here, you will notice that when the body is relaxed, the mind actually is clear to notice what is going on. Relax doesn't mean that the body is totally free from all the tightness and everything. There'll be some here and there because you're walking and you're sitting and walking throughout the whole day. Sometimes later part in the afternoon, you may feel that there's a bit of tiredness coming up. With that tiredness, sometimes the body feels a bit tense a little. But if you that time you can still bear up and your mind is still clear, that time you still carry on. Uh, don't do it with a walking meditation like when you start the walking time, you immediately want to go slow. You do it once or twice in your walking period per day, it's not a problem. But when you repeat this day after day, then the tension is going to start accumulating. And then suddenly after the third or fourth day, then you feel that how come the body is so tense up? What did I do? But you can't relate back to you have built up all the tension throughout the time, throughout the past few days. So it's about learning how to relax the body and yet the mind is clear and sharp. So you gradually slow down. As you gradually slow down, you gradually becomes more precise or more thorough in the noting. Now, in the sitting meditation, it's different. Sitting meditation, we are here talking about when you're in the retreat, not at home. At home is like a bit gradually you build it up in the sitting. In the retreat here is immediate. That means when you are ready when you sit down, everything is ready. You shift your leg, everything ready. You go into the primary object. You go to your rising and falling and you begin to notice what is going on. If you don't do that, you just sit there and let the mind do whatever you want to do. You are not going to meditate. Yeah. You have to direct the mind until long enough it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit that you sit down, automatically the mind knows which object to go. And once it knows how to go, you begin to able to stay with it and you see its formation, its changing, its whatever characteristics is going to show you. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes some of us from the background, some other form of meditation, you all do like in-breath, out-breath. Yeah. Now this in-breath, out-breath does not mean that it's a wrong object. It's still a right object for vipassana because it's still a motion. It's still in a way, a wind element. Mm. But here, the breathing here, the problem is that with most people, when they take up this in breath, out breath, is that you take it from a perspective of calmness or samatha way of doing things. That is to say, you are not seeing the in breath, out breath, long, fast, slow, whether it's warm, whether it's one side is longer than the other side, whether it's a staggering movement of the wind element or the breath here, whatever, you are not seeing the variations of the in breath, out breath. Most of you will be doing in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out. And everything stop. And to you, those things, when it goes stop, when it goes calm and peaceful, this is where you're going to get attached to it. And you want it. And you like it. And every sitting, you want to see it again and again. Because it's peaceful, it's calm, and your everyday life is like a madhouse inside there. You're crazy with all the responsibility, with work and everything. And here, when you meditate, peaceful. We thought that we are doing it right. We thought we are doing it right, but we don't realize that behind it, the craving is already there. You want it again and again. You expect that thing to come back again and again. You get stuck inside there. You're not doing samatha, neither you're doing vipassana. Because of the craving is there. Even in your doing proper samatha meditation, the craving is not there. If the craving is not there, that samatha meditation also will not progress. So a lot of time people get stuck even in samatha meditation. They thought that, oh, if I don't do vipassana, at least I fall back to samatha. There's no such thing. You are doing it both ways wrong because of the craving is there, the desire, the wanting, the wishing is there. And you want it to be pleasant, to be nice. You don't want to get out of it. So here, the breath in, breath out, breath. As I said, this is not a wrong object, but most of the time we do it wrongly. This in breath out breath, if you give this in breath out breath to advanced vipassana meditator, whatever you see in the rising falling here, however the pattern is moving here, you will also able to see it in the in breath and out breath exactly the same. Because after all, they are just wind element. But the thing is that we are not used to take up in breath, out breath in such a way. That's why we go into all this calmness. So therefore, in order for us to get confused about the in breath, out breath, why is it not being taken up and so on. So right in the beginning, we put it aside first. Not to get, because if you will be to start with this, a lot of you will fall back into the habit of getting calm. And then I ask you, hey, watch it carefully. No, it's not that easy. You're going to go back into your old habit of just stay there quiet. So therefore, right in the beginning of the retreat, we put all this in breath, out breath aside. We focus on a different object so that it's easier for you to pick up on the vipassana, because after all, it's something new. Although you are not used to it, it's all about getting it's all about training again and again. Then once you're able to get this rising and falling, it will show you a lot of things. Yeah. So this is why we start off with this primary object on the in-breath, on the rising and falling. Yeah. So that does not, as I repeat myself, this in-breath, out-breath is not a wrong object. It's a valid, it's a right vipassana object. It's just that yogis, most of the time, they they mispractice about on especially on this in breath out breath. Now, so we put this primary object aside a little bit now. So this what did I mention? As I said, during in the sitting, your job here is to make sure that when you sit down, immediately you start paying attention 100%. That means you're already fully alert. Bring your mindfulness and your thoroughness of the walking meditation that you have developed just now at the lifting, pushing, dropping, and slowly you bring that mindfulness, hold that mindfulness, then you slowly come into the sitting. With that build up of that mindfulness, you dump it into the rising and falling. And then everything becomes clear to you. Yeah? In order to connect the build up from the walking and you put it into the rising and falling. Yeah? So that's why the other day I mentioned that if you can hold your bladder for another hour, that will be good. If not, if you cannot do that, by all means you have to go. But if you could hold it for another hour, then that is an opportunity for you to able to connect that walking and bring it into the sitting. Then you see the development, at least for a period of time, it becomes clearer and some progress perhaps may come in. So immediately, so that means you sit down, you're noticing it from beginning all the way until that bell rings. No, let's take a break. Well, give me 5 minutes. I'll build it up. No. Straight. Yeah. At home, we cannot do it like this way. At home, because we have no walking meditation, there's no continuity of mindfulness throughout the daily activities. So, by the time you want to sit, is that there's nothing for you. There's mindfulness also is not much. Everything is not clear. Everything is not built up. And then that time, perhaps when you sit down at home, perhaps you start off with some more like sitting. You're aware of the sitting position for a while. You're aware of the touching. Then you slowly come back to your rising and falling. And that time also, rising and falling may not last that long. It's just for a short while disappear. Rising and falling here in the beginning part for most of us, for every one of us actually, when we begin to meditate, this rising and falling usually is not an easy object to notice. It takes you a number of days before you can actually really stay with the rising and falling and notice what is going on. Sometimes it may take you for 5 days or 7 days, and that 5 days, 7 days is about, you have been doing it, walking thoroughly throughout every session. Only it builds up on 5th day or so. Yeah? So it's not that easy, this rising and falling. I acknowledge that, especially for beginners. But once you're able to get it, once you're able to get this rising and falling, then because of its habit, then that next time when you sit down, your mind is much more, much clearer on the rising and falling. So it's otherwise it's easily for your mind to stay on the rising and falling. Yeah. So don't give up hope yet. Even you don't see much of rising and falling. Even you don't see rising and falling, let's say you are not clear, doesn't mean that you don't report. Yeah, you have to report too. Oh, rising and falling is not so clear, shallow or whatever. At least you let me know. Doesn't mean that it's not clear, you don't report. Yeah. I'm quite lenient actually. If you go to other teachers, not here in US lah, but you go to the Myanmar or this one, if you don't report your rising and falling or your, especially the sitting, then you report as you like, and they're going to take out their samurai sword and chop off your head straight away. Figuratively lah. Yeah, they're not. They just ask you to leave. Tomorrow you come back again. So you gotta report properly. Yeah. Anyway, now let's talk about some of the secondary objects. Now there are various secondary objects, and again, these various secondary objects also is, in a way, you need to have technique or you need to have skills to deal with them. One object, dealing with one vipassana object, although the principle of it is be alert, be mindful on the object. That is the fundamental of vipassana, to pay attention to whatever it comes. But when you're actually doing it, each and every object got its own unique way of dealing with it. For example, you look at rising and falling, and you look at the pain. They're different, although they're objects, but dealing with them can be quite different because of their different nature. Talk about sitting and touching. For example, the sitting, touching, and rising and falling. Again, here they are different in nature because here rising and falling is a very static object. Rising, falling is a moving object. Lifting, pushing, dropping, walking is a moving object. But whereas sitting and touching, they are more stationary object. You touch the pressure or the buttock or the sitting position, they are all stationary object. Pain is an unpleasant object. Again, here, skills of dealing with it can be slightly different. Now, let's talk about the pain as a part of the secondary object here. Now, this in Vipassana, you will, one of the biggest deal breaker, one of the biggest deal breaker for yogis is the pain. In other words, if they feel the pain 1 or 2 retreats, after that, the deal is off. You're not going to come back anymore for the retreat because it's unbearable, it's unpleasant. If you do it wrongly, if you do not have much of understanding of this vipassana and you try to do this meditation, especially when the pain is there, then if you are not careful, it will create a lot of aversion. And the aversion is not checked and is not able to overcome the aversion, then it will create a lot of doubt. A lot of doubt. Why should I be here? Why should I go suffer so much? Might as well I go back. That it creates a lot of doubt in yourself, skeptical doubt, if you are not careful. So we have to learn how to deal with these various types of unpleasant feelings throughout the whole body. So, Look at here in the Vipassana practice. Even we have 30 yogis, let's say. Here is only 20 yogis. Let's say even we have 30 yogis. Comparatively, a Vipassana meditation and comparatively to a form of Samatha meditation or other form of meditation, usually people or even devotees will take that meditation more than you will take up here. Because this Vipassana, they know that, or whether they don't or they do not know, is that one of the things is that they have to deal with the pain, various aspects of the unpleasant feelings. Yeah. And unpleasant feelings, all this pain is not wrong. It's just that you dislike it. And not only you dislike it, sometimes you make judgment about your sitting. If there's a pain, not good sitting. If there's no pain, best sitting. And that is again wrong. Sometimes yogis tell me, yesterday I have wonderful sitting. Then I'm just waiting for them. What is your wonderful? Your wonderful and my wonderful is totally different. Opposite. Oh, I don't have pain in my sitting. Previously, I have a bad sitting. I have a difficulty noticing the pain and so on. That is bad sitting for you. But that one is very good sitting for me. At least you try to notice those things. But then if you think that it's pleasant sitting without all this pain, I'll just sit there, relax, so nice. Your good and my good is completely different, completely the opposite. It's a bad sitting actually. Not that tomorrow you start looking for pain, the pain will come and look for you. Don't worry. The pain will come and look for you. Various types of pain will come and look for you. Yeah. So one of the part of the Satipatthana under the feelings part, the Vedana. Here the feelings in the Buddha mentioned is that you have pleasant feelings, you have unpleasant feelings, and you have neutral feelings. You keep it simple. Or you can divide it into further into 5. Then you have more like a spiritual or noble thing, and then you have neutral. Then you have you have bodily, bodily pleasant feeling, bodily unpleasant feeling. Then you have neutral feeling. Neutral is bodily, as they say, body don't feel the neutral feeling, according to Abhidhamma, but doesn't matter. Then you have mental unpleasant feeling, mental pleasant feeling. You can further divide into 5. So basically, you have pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. So, in the beginning of Vipassana practice, in the beginning of the development, and actually throughout the whole Vipassana, there will be pain, more or less. Don't ever think that this retreat I'm going to bear up the pain. I'm going to pay back all the karma, bear up all the pain and everything, and then next retreat, I'll be free from the pain. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. As long as the body is here, this body, there will be pain. You cannot run away. The Buddha also have bodily pain. It's not that he's always in the high. He's always there, bodily pain. He's still a human being. He eat the wrong thing, also stomach ache. He got sick, physically sick, fever, and so on. Yes, there's still bodily pain there. When he sit down there, there's still pain. Not to say there's no pain. The difference with them, with the Buddha and us, is that the Buddha doesn't have aversion towards the pain. We have aversion, we have a lot of anger, doubt, fear about the pain. That's where it makes everything all very difficult. Even the arahants, they have pain. Not to say they don't have. It's just that they don't have attachment, or they don't have aversion, anger towards this pain. So that is a big difference. Most of us, we don't see the problem is the anger. Most of the time, we just want to get rid of the pain. You sit there, after half an hour, the pain comes in. You don't want to watch it. You don't want to pay attention to it. You just want to. And that's about it. You just want to get rid of the pain. If you do that, Vipassana is not going to go very far. And Vipassana is not going to go very far. Because every time anything that is unpleasant arises, your mind is already fluctuating. It's already go unstable. Now how are we going to deal with this pain? So the culprit here is not the pain. The culprit is that you dislike the pain. You cannot tolerate, you cannot accept the pain. So the problem here, we have to deal with it, this one. Yeah? But before we deal with this culprit, it also is important for us to how to deal with the pain. But dealing with these various types of bodily pain also require us to have or to remove our wrong thinking about the pain. If you don't remove some of the wrong thinking about the wrong perception about the pain, you'll be still holding on with that wrong perception, and you think that you're doing it right. With you, in other words, you're still ignorant about it. Now, let's look into some of the misunderstanding about this pain. Now, one of the thing is that when a yogi meditate, let's say the yogi knows how to pay attention to the pain. It goes that just like all the principle of vipassana is to go and pay attention to the object, right? So when you pay attention to the object, you also label. Like, for example, if you happen to notice thinking, then you're not thinking. So here, if it is the pain here, and let's say it's a burning pain you're going through, so what you can do is that you label it as burning. Or if it's very hard pain, you can notice as hard, or pain. Perfect. You're doing correct. But what is not correct is that sometimes, or a lot of times, yogi misunderstood. They thought that by noting the pain, they want the pain to go away as quickly as possible. Hard. How come you're still there? Hard, pulling. This is exactly behind your motive is that you are not really want to see the true nature of the pain. You want to get rid of the pain. You're seeing the pain is that you're not want to truly noticing the true nature of the pain, but you want to get rid of the pain as quickly as possible. And then here, you already make a wrong footing, the wrong noting in that sense. How many times we do that? How many times we want to get rid of the pain as soon as possible? With the front is noting, but the back of your mind, you want to get rid of it. That is not the way. That is not the way of how we do this vipassana practice. And many people, many meditators, especially this one, they want to get rid of the pain. Another way of how yogis also, because of wrong understanding, is that when they come with the pain, they want to look from it far away. Like you are very painful here. You're not like taking it up and examine the nature of the pain is pulling, but you kind of like you put it far away mentally. Other words, that day we talk about superficiality, about vipassana, about the mindfulness. This is exactly when the object is there, you want to put it far away. And when you do that, what will happen to the pain is that the pain is not so painful. The pain is in a way bearable. But since sometimes the yogi thought that since I need to sit for 1 hour, I cannot take the pain so strong, so difficult. So let me stay with it from far away. Just wait for the time for the bell to ring. You see all their wrong way of doing things. Yes, they already acknowledge the pain is there, but they are not see the true nature of the pain as it is. It's just want to stay there far away. So that is not the way of how we notice the pain. Yeah. The stronger, you see, it's not a problem. The nature of mindfulness is that when the mindfulness gets continuous, gets stronger, its job is of one of the job of mindfulness is to enhance the object. Or other words, it's like it goes face to face or towards the object. As I said the other day, I said heightened awareness, not superficial as the characteristic. And one of the characteristic also of mindfulness is to go near. That means you heighten up to see the object itself. So other words, when it comes to pain, is that when it enhances it, the object, actually you feel more painful. If you don't feel it more painful, how are you going to examine the nature of the pain? So it's the nature of, because of mindfulness comes in, you actually feel the pain is stronger, it lasts longer. So make sure that you bring the mind close to the pain. And when it close to the pain, you examine how is the pain is like. What sort of pain you are going through? Is it a hard pain, soft pain, burning pain? Sometimes within a spot of pain, it changes from one type to another type. Sometimes is the pain, the intensity of the same kind of pain gets stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. This is how vipassana is to be noted, to see the changes of this pain in their various manner. Not stay far away from it. There are places which also have been in Thailand and so on. There are teachers, there are way of vipassana to tell you that noting the pain from far away. And they call themselves vipassana practice. Every object, not just only the pain, every object is to just sit there, just feel present, nice. Yes, your whole meditation will be very pleasant and very nice. No much pain, not much tension. You can just walk about the whole temple and you can just learn to feel the wind coming to your face. You can put a chair and the table there, drink coffee while you're watching the birds fly. And then they say, I'm mindful, I'm here, I'm very present. And when it comes to sitting down, they just sit, just let the body be present here. That's not enough. That's not the way of vipassana. Nowadays, this way, what I've mentioned, it become quite popular. I mean, it's very popular right now. It's very popular right now. You pay, and you have to pay for it. Here it's free. But nobody wants. Not many people want. The problem is the difficulty of this unbearableness of this nature of the pain. Uh, So this is one aspect. Now another aspect of a yogi is that some yogis are very determined and very like bull, like yesterday I mentioned. Their meditation is like their bulldoze everything through, even the pain also. So what happened is that some of them is that when the pain arises, they are so determined to sit there until the bell rings. If the leg break, let it break. I mean, this is very good, huh? Not to say it's bad. It's good. If the leg were to break, if the blood is not going to flow, if if I'm if I'm getting up, the physically is going to be deformed, then so be it. I'm going to sit there until the bell rings, which is good. Not to say it's bad, but it's not enough for a vipassana meditator. A vipassana meditator, you have to bear up, yes. And while you're bearing up with the pain, you have to observe the true nature of the pain, which is the most important part. Bearing up with the pain, because it comes in so much different way of pulling and difficulty and so on. I know it's difficult to bear up right at the beginning. I know. But this is where we train our mind. So, in other words, you need to bear up with the pain. At the same time, you have to observe the nature of the process of the pain. Right? Not some yogis they are once in a while they sit there and they kind of like grit the teeth, like and they grit their teeth just to wait for the bell to ring. They are not observing the true nature of the pain, but they are just just grit their teeth, and that is not the way. I mean, these people, they are very determined. They are very, you say that you sit with the pain, they actually sit with the pain. But this is not the way of vipassana. You have the quality, but you have to add it with that observation. Then it turns into vipassana. Sit there and just bear up with the pain is still not vipassana. All right? But the yogi that can bear up, that means that there's some degree of progress is there. It's only a matter of tuning in those noting into observation to what is going on. Yeah? Now, all yogis, you need to bear up with the pain one way or another, because sometimes the pain can be 45 minutes or 50 minutes, and you got to sit there without moving. And how are we going to bear up with such a long pain? Even in the beginning part of it, 5 minutes is like eternity. You're going, you're just waiting for the bell to ring. You keep looking, you keep turning back to the clock to see whether the second needle is still moving or not. Maybe not enough battery, you will start thinking the battery is dead. All kinds of thoughts will come in. Now, in order for us to bear up with the pain, this is where your walking meditation will be very helpful, especially your three-phase walking meditation. Don't underestimate that three-phase walking meditation and when you come and how it connects with the pain and how it connects with bearing up with the pain. Here, when you do your three-phase walking meditation, make sure that this time, after a few days, do the three-phase a little bit longer and do it as slow as you can, as clear as you can, as precise as you can. And you notice all this precision and you keep noting it again and again. You will see it in over a number of days, within like 2 or 3 days. You will notice that when those pain arises, you can bear it for a longer period of time. Before that, your sitting can last only a half an hour. You just cannot, and then you have to get up or you have to shift the leg. But this time, if you were to do this walking meditation thoroughly, then when you comes into the pain and you begin to notice that from earlier on you can only bear up the pain for 5 minutes. It's so difficult. But now it goes up to 10 minutes. You can go up to 15 minutes. And if the more that you do, as you advance into it, deepening into it, the pain half an hour, it comes up. You can still bear up with it without shifting the leg. 45 minutes it comes up, however painful, the mind can still bear up with it without that aversion or difficulty. That means the mindfulness has taken over instead of the aversion. The mindfulness has replaced the aversion, and in other words, the mind can be more stabilized with the pain. You're not making the pain go away, neither you wish the pain to stay. Your job is to use this pain to observe their true nature. While you observe the pain, the more mindfulness is going to come in, the more continuous mindfulness is going to come in. So it is important for us to learn how to bear up with this pain. So this, you see, misconception already arises. There are worse misconception, and one of it is that nowadays I've also heard of monks, in fact. It says, why you come to a retreat and suffer? Why do you have to suffer with all the pain? You mean in your life you're not enough dukkha, not enough suffering, and you have to come to a retreat and you suffer further? Why do we need to do that? Then some of the people will say, yeah, what the logic is that is there. Why do we come to retreat and then we suffer further? Then again here, this again here is totally misunderstood the nature of dukkha or the nature of suffering or unsatisfactoriness. It's not about getting rid of it and looking for something pleasant. The dukkha, all this pain and so on, is about for us to see their true nature, to see, to comprehend them as they really are, not getting rid of it, not wishing it to come. But when they arises, your job is to see them as it is. That is where we begin to see the truth. Logic is one thing. Understanding it, the deeper aspect of it is totally different thing. And once we understood it, we only realized that how much delusion that we have. So we are here when we deal with the pain. It's not about here trying to torture you. We here want to that the truth is there, and my job is to help you to see the truth. And if you cannot see this truth, even if the pain comes in, this unsatisfactoriness comes in, if you cannot take it up every time into the future, every time the pain arises, that any form of pain arises, your mind, first of all, we're going to reject it. Your mind will averse to it first, because it's the nature, it's the habit. So if you don't shift it to another way of looking at the pain with acceptance, with clarity, with mindfulness, then that time the aversion is not there. So tomorrow you're going to continue on with looking into the pain a little bit more. And also there are also how we deal with this pain in a better way. All right. So we stop here for tonight.